Hey guys, Brockshield here. This time in Gnomeregan. Here you can see we start off the run opening the back entrance, which requires the Gnomeregan key. If you don't have the key, don't worry, I'll show you from which boss you can get the key later in this run. When you open the doors, this first pull is pretty simple for a level 60. Even in fresh gear, I was able to complete this first pull without any consumables, etc. One thing you may notice here, for most of the pulls I use Devotion Aura, because these non-elite leprous assistants will go down if you leave Retribution Aura up. However, this pull is so quick that there's no concern in keeping Devotion Aura off in this instance. From here, it's just standard stuff. Round them up around the corner. Use your Consecration. Any other items you may have, such as you saw I used Talisman of Ephemeral Power, Force Reactive Disc, and now we're bringing them down. You see here they're going down quite quickly, and if it takes more time for you, don't worry. These mobs usually never did enough damage to me at 60 to present, as a fresh 60 to present any major threat. There aren't really any mechanics to worry about for these mobs either. Just be sure to try to pull them around the corner, as some of them will have a ranged ability that looks like the Warlock Soul Shard. With that said, go ahead and open the doors as you would have the key to have entered in this way in the first place. And if you are a fresh level 60, I recommend turning right up here. The pulls that I'm going to show you are what I would recommend only for geared 60s, and you'll see why later in the video. So turn right down that hallway if you're a fresh 60. Since I have the gear to do the more difficult side of the dungeon, I'm going to round up every mob on this upper level here and bring them back to where you saw the initial pull start. At that point you would have cleared out the entire upper level, which is enough to justify finally sitting down and consecrating. In addition to that, you see the crowd pummelers here. This boss, of course, drops the manual crowd pummeler, which is the best weapon for feral druids throughout the course of the game. One of the reasons I'm looking to consider running Gnomeregan more is because farming manual crowd pummelers for druids would be beneficial for them, and it would be a way that I could give back with the abilities that I've been fortunate to build in this game. Once you're around the corner, go ahead and round up all of the mobs and bring them down. Here you see that Soul Shard-like ability. I believe it's some of those leprous assistants boosting the mob they link with. Either way, even as a fresh 60, you don't have to worry about that ability, but just make sure you bring them around the corner, as you can see here, those mobs are waiting back and they're not getting dragged. So I decided to step out to see if they would notice my presence, at which point I could bring them back around the corner. Finished up the mobs here. Go ahead and skip the loot as usual. From here, if you are ready for the more difficult part of the dungeon, you're going to want to head down this elevator. And I would say to you to be prepared, because these pulls are very difficult, and I would not advise a fresh level 60 coming down here at all. In fact, most of the videos I saw when I first started looking at this style of pulling, they didn't come to this area, and I now see why, because when I tried at level 60, it was not so good when I first dinged 60. So these mobs are all at the higher levels in Gnomeregan firstly. So as you can see, these are 31 plus elites. And as you head up this area here, you'll approach the area with the Dark Iron Dwarves who can trap you in a net. Now the only way to break free from that net, for me, a sustainable way, is to use Blessing of Freedom. Other classes will have different abilities. However, that's the utility that the Paladin class has. You see that Hailstorm ability slows me down, a non-dispellable slow. I decided to save my Blessing of Freedom because Blessing of Sanctuary is really important for sustaining the damage throughout the course of the run. As you can see here, the levels of the mobs are increasing and the damage they're going to output is also going to increase. These mobs hit very hard on a fresh level 60, and for that reason, if you wanted to farm Mechgineer Thermoplug, who is the boss at the end of this hallway, I recommend you have your party follow you because you're going to need their assistance to try and pull this whole wing, even just up to the boss. As you can see here, I wanted to show you two clips at the same time. In this side by side, you see the Brockshield on the left, who is a fresh level 60, just started the pull and is going to start consecrating right here. Whereas the Brockshield on the right, with all the gear, the knowledge, the experience, etc., pulled all the way from the elevator down to here in a single pull, did not stop where the Brockshield on the left did, and is continuing to pull every single mob on this ledge. This is exactly why I would say, when you're a fresh level 60 or you see these videos and you want to emulate this style, firstly, thank you, because it means a lot that people see the videos and they want to gear their paladins like this, or they want to play another AoE style like this. The thing is, it really does take a lot of time, effort, and practice to know where your limits are. And I don't just specify gear, but I mean, for example, it takes a lot of death runs to know where and on the map in each dungeon is a good place to stop, what your limits are. Because the idea, of course, as you already understand, is I want to push my character as far as they can go, but not reach the breaking point. So you see the Brockshield on the left, unfortunately, he died, had to resurrect, and walk back. Whereas the Brockshield on the right is still going. With Force Reactive Disc in hand, these mobs present no challenge at all. And so that's something that stands out because you can just see, having pulled everything from that elevator down, the pull is still a success. So when you ding 60 and you want to emulate this style, firstly, thank you, and secondly, know it takes time and patience, effort, yes, also the good fortune that I had here as well of being in great guilds, especially Elegance, where they took me under their wing and supported me, giving me a chance to prove myself in raids as well as gear me for this style of pulling. The next pull I want to show is that whole middle area that we avoided. We'll gather up all those mobs. You see here my health is ticking down. I don't have Divine Shield, so I'll use Blessing of Protection since there's typically no magic damage. Bring them around the corner and bring them down. You don't have to worry too much about these nullifiers, but just be wary if you're a fresh 60, even this many mobs is going to be too much. Regarding the loot in Gnomeregan, it's quite strong for a dungeon that can be pulled like this. The huge benefit that Gnomeregan has is that it has a mailbox and a vendor within the dungeon. That unique trait, specific to Gnomeregan only, makes it stand out in terms of its ability to be AoE pulled for profit like this. I personally still find SM Cathedral to be my sweet spot because of how I've set up those pulls. I have field repair bots, hundreds of potions for Brockshield and Denarius, I have warlocks to help summon, I have food, I have sappers if I need. Thus, it makes it quite simple, and like I've mentioned to you, it's second nature for me now to do those pulls. I would recommend Gnomeregan for the level of player, as you see here, that doesn't have an alt to multi-box with. Throughout these runs you see I never have Denarius in the runs, so these are true solo pulls and demonstrate what you can do by yourself if you don't have two accounts. You'll notice once again, I keep Devotion Aura up here because I don't want these Leprous assistants to die too early. Essentially, if any mob is dying along the pull, it's worth less to you to go back and loot them than it is to just start the next pull. And so for that reason, it's all about those fundamentals where you want to pull, you want to get the mobs, but you don't want to kill them too quickly along the pull. Gather them up all the way to the end and finish them off there. You see here, now that we've gathered the whole upper area, we head up to the boss. Electrocutioner 6000 is the boss that drops the key in Gnomeregan. He has no special abilities that you have to worry about as a level 60, just standard AoE, and once again, you see here, I use Blessing of Protection, and since there are no magical casters from range, all the mobs come close. That's another benefit that Gnomeregan has, it's just less mechanics to worry about. If you've seen my RFC video, you saw those low-level mobs with paltry loot somehow chain stun me to the point where I couldn't even farm them efficiently. But in Gnomeregan, you can get the crowd pummeler, you can get keys for your alts and friends, all without having to stress at all. The last pull I want to show you following this is the final pull before you enter the area with the mailbox and repair. Unfortunately, Gnomeregan isn't a great dungeon for me because while I can consider it because of all the versatility you just saw, after you reach this mailbox area, it's quite a long walk either back from where you came or moving forwards to the front entrance. Either way, that's quite a long time you're just walking, and after you've seen my SM Cath video, you can understand the opportunity cost of that time. As an SM Cath, it's just run after run after run. Just go, you snap your fingers and there you are in the next SM Cath. While Gnomeregan, you see here, is truly beautiful, it might not be for everybody. With that said, I want to say light be with you all. Take care. Thank you again. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.